In my last video, I shared with you how to properly use generative AI to create content ideas or content in general for your social media profiles. But what I didn't share with you was how to create a system. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how to set up what is called a project. Now, I know some of you are probably using ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how to use Claude. Now, the two are somewhat similar in how they set up a project. Why use projects? Because in the last video, I showed you how to just fire up any of the models and use the chatbot to generate content ideas or content. But like I said, that conversation disappears depending on how you have the model set up in your settings. If you don't have memory set up in your settings, then every time you start a new conversation, the model 9 times out of 10 is not going to remember what was said in the last time you had a chat session with it. So that is why creating a project will allow you or enable you to chat with the chatbot, but it will remember all of the details that you shared with it since the first time you began the quote unquote project. This is the, we call it the brand document if you want. And in it, it basically lays out exactly what the business is. Now, for this particular demonstration, I'm still going to use Jackson Plumbing in Athens, Georgia. And as you see, we have some basic information, business name, we've got location, we've got target market, the operational rule, guardrails, what types of things to always include in the content, what types of things to omit, what kind of keywords you want to use, because still the reality is SEO is still very important. Your voice, your tone, your content pillars. You're also going to say or tell the model how to output the information that you're asking it for, or to how to go about doing the task you want it to do. You can create this particular document very easily. You can even ask the model to do a Q&A with you. You don't want to write it down, then technically you can literally ask whichever model you want to go through a series of questions so that you get the same information. And then from there, you can ask it to summarize all of that information into a document, and then you can use it for what we're going to do next. So now we're getting into what is called agentic AI. Now, for some of you that are using ChatGPT, some of you that are using Gemini, it all still applies. I'm going to use Claude in this particular example. So let's work on or within a project. And whether you are using Chat GPT, let me show you what it looks like on Chat GPT. You see here, you've got projects here in Chat. Go over here to your menu, say projects, you start a new project. Gemini uses something called Notebook LM. And let me go to that, Notebook LM. So a notebook is kind of like a project, in all honesty, but that's not what they call them. But they're so very similar to what you would do when creating a project in Claude or ChatGPT. So we're here in Claude and we're going to use projects. The projects are more organized. They're more robust because I'm not just going to come in, ask it to do one little task and leave. I'm going to give it maybe a lot more tasks, a lot more tactics in a broader project. Because usually when you're doing a project, there's more than one thing to do to get to the goal. You're going to have teams of people usually working within a project with you, and you can do that. And also, you can scale it bigger. You do want to have everything in one space. If you were to use a skill, or maybe say you wanted to use Chat GPT and you wanted to use a custom GPT, well, again, they're good for specific repeatable tasks, but when you're ready to do something bigger with more people, something more robust, then that's when you want to do a project. So as you see here, I've already started a couple of projects. And even if you were on ChatGPT, you would start new. If you're in Claude, you're going to start new. So we're going to start a new project. We're going to give it a name. And so I'm still going to use Jackson Plumbing Content System. What are you trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve a system of content generation for Jackson Plumbing. Oops, I can't spell. Social media profiles to help the company save time and money in its marketing efforts. Now, before we do anything, and I do mean anything, we're going to give it instructions. We could give it some files. The memory element, we're not going to mess with, because when you start talking about memory in a project, basically the more you engage in this project, the more you talk to the model, the more information you give it, it's going to get to know you, just like talking to a person. The more you work together, the more it begins to know more about you. It begins to anticipate what you want. It gets an understanding of the goals that you're working toward. Same thing with memory. And even if you were using Chat GPT, it would be something similar. So you're going to do it one time. You're going to upload as much information as needed one time in this project, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. However, if you want to update that information, you want to update the memory in that particular way, you can, because certain documentation, it may be outdated after a while, or your guidelines change, whatever it may be, you can't update it. But it needs to be in your project before you start. We're going to copy and paste this into the instructions of the project. So you put it right here. So that's done. Now the next phase, if I had files, because Jackson Plumbing is a fake company, it does not exist. But for your business, if you have brand guidelines, if you have a sheet or document rather that has your fonts, your colors, even certain taglines. If you have videos, especially transcriptions of your videos, so that the model gets a very good understanding of your tone of voice and how you speak and what you speak about. You could add that too. If you had, let's say, PDFs or reports, you could add those files in here too. I would not, however, add anything that was personal in here. Now is the time you want to give it a prompt. But things are evolving so quickly in generative AI that your thought shouldn't be so much on creating the perfect prompt. Right now, we're approaching just talking to the model as you would a person, and just be mindful of including all the important information you wanted to know. Here's my prompt. But here's an important step. Claude is not known for its video generation and image generation. But funny how things change and how quickly they change. Claude now can do video as well as images because you're going to need that for social, as we all know, but it doesn't do it the same way as the others. You have to connect it. See here, you can add files and photos, take a screenshot. You could do that with all the other ones too. There's a skill, and there are connections or connectors. This is key because, again, in order to generate imagery, in order to generate videos, Claude has to connect to something externally that will do it. And in this case, I've connected to Canva. And so all you have to do is add a connector. And see here, you got all of these tools that you can connect to Canva now. So now, the other piece, which model or which mode, for lack of a better term, I guess, do you want to use? Now, Haiku for fast is for quick answers, and it uses the fewer tokens too. Sonnet 4.6, most efficient for everyday tasks, which is basically where I stay most of the time. And we're going to see what we get. Now that we have these, Instagram, LinkedIn, of course, you don't have to use these at all. And it gives you, notice too, it gives you image direction, a close up of a bathroom. You can take that and use it as a prompt. Okay, so now I've asked Claude to generate the visuals for each of the posts using Canva. I have not even left Claude, and I can see what is created in Canva without even visiting the website. So as you see here, I just asked it to generate visuals for each of the posts using Canva for approval or editing. As you click on them, they will appear in your media library in Canva. Of course, you can edit this. I will get rid of this. Get rid of this right here. Just go back to Canva. You see there's the image there. If we like it, we can go ahead and schedule it on our platform, Instagram and or LinkedIn. You do have to have a paid account. You don't get to schedule with a free account. If you don't want to do it there, go here, click more, content planner, and then you can schedule your content whichever day you want. So that is how you do social media content the right way with AI. I've shown you two methods, two ways of doing it. This particular time, we used a system, basically a project. That project in Claude, you could still do the same thing in ChatGPT. You could still do the same thing with Gemini. So if you have any questions about this tutorial, let me know. Hit me up on LinkedIn or in the email, reply to the email and let me know how you are using AI in your social media content creation. Does this method save you time? Does it save you effort? Just remember, you still need a human in the mix. I can't say this will not replace everything that a social media manager will do, but in many instances, it is a great complement to a social media manager that knows what they're doing already. Okay, that's it. Until next time, bye bye.